everyone, we are Anna and Chris, we are two professional photographers from Germany, and in this video we attempt to get a little out of our comfort zones, taking documentary portraits with our new Neewer Z1 flash during the day. So let's see how it turns out. Honestly, if you had told me a couple of years ago that I would be using a flash outdoors to shoot portraits while the sun was still out, I would have probably called you crazy because I've honestly never done that. I usually use my flash in my studio or sometimes at night when you're doing a reportage or something, but never during the day. But that's actually the thing that I love about photography, is that it can constantly push your limits and that there's always room to try something new. The broom, I hope I got that one right, was in full bloom and there were so many yellow blossoms all around the shrubs. And even though we were a little late for that, I think it's still beautiful how the yellow turned out in the photos. Additionally, we had some clouds during that day and a lot of wind, which is pretty common for our area here. And this provided a lot of extra movement for our images and also a lot of extra color. Speaking of color, as you can see in this image here, it was a really cloudy day, which is why the light is quite diffused and the colors don't really pop. But if you use the flash, the colors will look entirely differently, and I love how vibrant and intense they are now looking. I feel like shooting a speedlight outdoors provides some sort of surreal touch to these portrait images. Normally, I would always use available light, but with the speedlight, the colors come out so differently, and I feel like it also provides a possibility to be a bit more playful in your imagery and not take yourself too seriously while taking portraits outdoors.
Probiere ich das jetzt mal.
Okay, viel Spaß.
Okay, danke.
Have fun.
Ich habe keinen Plan, was damit. Oh ja, das wäre
Just to get acquainted with this type of flash a little better, we used the TTL setting for a lot of the shoot, which meant that the flash itself and the camera measured the lighting and then chose the flash setting to go with it, so pretty much the automatic mode for this flash. We also used the manual setting for the flash later on in the shoot, just to be a little more intentional with how we use the flash and to get results that are a little more precise.
Na, sowas so ein bisschen. Ja,
So, ja.
ja, die davor waren besser, ne? Die haben
Another detail I also found to be really interesting when it comes to flash photography outdoors is how much the aperture will change the entire look of the image. So for example, with the same flash settings and same shutter speed, you can see an f6.3 here, and you might notice that the sky still looks kind of gloomy and diffused, but it still has a lot of white in them and the blue tones are quite bright. And additionally, the grass still looks pretty fresh and pretty green, and you don't have a lot of contrast in that image. I love how changing one little detail can change the entire story of your photograph. I love how all of the tones are now way more intense and way more contrasty. The sky looks really dramatic, as if a storm was coming, and I love how the red of Chris' jacket now pops way more intensely.
Oh, scheiße, wie hast du Es bringt Glück, oder?
Oh mein Gott, ich habe zum Glück Taschentücher.
For the next part of a shoot, we wanted to capture some movement. I think adding movement to portraits can always add such an interesting layer and tell so much of a story. So we just tried a few different things, and I couldn't help but look a little silly, but that's what happens during a shoot sometimes. And I think we got some pretty cool results. Every now and then the flash would just stop bursting because I think I was too fast, and this might be better with a more expensive flash, or it might just be the flow of things that you just have to go a little slower for the flash to reload and be able to burst at full quality again. But actually, for this kind of shoot, it didn't bother me as much. If it had been a campaign or a paid shoot, I might have been a little annoyed. For this part of our shoot, we went for a really slow shutter speed, and we chose a 120. And as you can see, it creates really interesting effects, especially when combined with the flash. And I love how much they tell a story and how incredibly gorgeous the countryside in the backdrop is now looking. I do honestly think that playing around with the shutter speed is kind of underrated, because I love changing it up and using shutter speeds that are really fast and really slow. I think this way it's ideal to tell a story, especially if you've already taken some portraits which are maybe considered a little bit more classical than the ones that we took right here. If this shoot has taught me one thing, it's that it's always a great idea to get out of your comfort zone. We had the best time just shooting portraits for fun and experimenting with the flash, and I especially love the look of the images, and I think it's definitely going to inspire my work further on as well. So I can only encourage you to definitely try out shooting with a flash outdoors. It can be really interesting if you use it with fun and intention and joy. So I really hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for coming on this shoot with us, and see you in the next one. Bye, thank you.